Activist 13.
What's up guys, this is Mikhail with Wealth Insurance Equity Properties. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, typically, or at least up to this point, I've shown homes, I've walked around, kind of told you about my thought process, but now we're going to actually get on the board and take a look at some real numbers. Today we're going to be evaluating the home in San Antonio that we looked at. Now, if you have not seen that video, it should be a couple of videos back. Just take a look at that just to see exactly what I'm talking about when I explain these numbers. Basically, I'm going to look at a couple of different extra strategies. Now, I'm doing this in real time. Now, I have ran some numbers in the past and stuff, but I want this to be raw and I want you to see exactly how my thought process goes when I'm evaluating properties. All right, so if you remember, that property was on a short sale for $200,000. All right, so let me write these numbers down. It was a short sale for $200,000, okay? Now, when we walked through, I felt like it would probably cost about $40,000 to repair it. So I'm gonna put that under rehab at $40,000. All right. Now, you always wanna account for uh-ohs when you're looking at whatever kind of analysis you're doing. Now, I'm going to get to exactly what we're going to do here, but this is the case no matter what kind of analysis you do. Whether you're trying to rent it out, fix and flip it, or something else, you always want to take a look at how much it's going to cost you to first purchase it and then repair it. So we're looking at about, at this point, $240,000 plus $5K in uh-ohs. All right, so we're all in this property about $245,000. All right, now come over here because this property was tax assessed last year at $34,000. So $234,000. All right, that's important because you work off this number first and foremost to kind of see where you can get to as far as an after repair value or ARV. So we were at 234 last year, 2019. Now that's as is, but we don't know the condition of the home when it was tax assessed in 2019. So you also got to look at the comps in the area. There are a lot of good comparables in the area, so I think we could probably sell this home retail at about $260,000. I'll say 260 just so that we are being safe. So I'm gonna say ARV is $260,000. All right. So that's assuming we sell on the retail side. So everyone wants to know fix and flip, fix and flip, fix and flip. Okay, well let's take a look at those numbers. So we're in this property, $200,000 for the purchase price, $40,000 for the rehab plus $5,000 in repairs, but we also got to think about how much it's going to cost to sell the home. Now, most of you are much smarter than me. You probably can do these numbers in your head. I got to get a calculator. So typically, you want to take in, for me at least, 8% out of the after repair value will go to your closing costs. So buyers and sellers, agents, commissions, and so on and so forth. So if we're at $260,000 retail with 8% in closing costs, that means our closing costs are going to be $20,800. All right, so fix and flip, right? So we're in $200,000, $245,000, and now we're in $266,300. So we're all in. I'll put it here. We were selling at $260,000. To actually sell a home is going to cost 260, what did I say? 266,300? Something like that, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I could be wrong. 265. Yeah, that's right. Well, let me check. Let me check for you, you guys. Oops. All right, never mind. See, this is why I don't do math in my head. I gotta use calculators. I don't even know where I got that from. Goodness. Okay. $265,800. So as you can see, us buying this property is losing us money. All right. Now, Mikhail, to some that might have been obvious from the beginning. All right. So I'm going to teach you guys the formula when you're buying properties as is. All right. So properties as is. So we want to first find out what the ARV is. So again, the ARV we said was $260,000. That's the ARV. From that, you want to subtract 30%. So what's 30%? This, or we'll say 70%. So 260,000 times 0.7, $182,000. So we want to subtract 30%. That gives us $182,000. All right. From this number, you want to subtract your repairs. So we said it's going to cost us about $40,000 in repairs plus another $5,000 as a blanket, or as I like to call it, So we'll say minus $45,000 repairs. So after all that, we are what? What is that? $137,000? So we are $137,000. And that's what we like to call our maximum allowable offer. This is the number that we can offer and feel confident that we'll get a return. All right. Now this property was on the MLS. Like I said, it's a short sale, so maybe the lender would be willing to negotiate at this price point. I highly doubt it. That's so low. But in your regular rehab analysis or your fix and flip analysis or whatever, this formula is what you want to use to get to this number. So let's say you find a house, down the street that you were just driving around and this person's looking to sell, and they're selling it as is. What you do is you look at comps, you get some data. What's the ARV? Minus 30%, minus your repairs, that's the most you can offer somebody. Now, a lot of the times you're thinking like, whoa, why would anybody that's selling it for $200,000 take it at this number? Well, a lot of the times people are trying to move quickly. They have a lot of different situations that they're trying to get out of the house. So this cash can be really good for a lot of people. But when you're dealing with the bank or you're dealing with the MLS, people with realtors, that's really difficult. But that was just one strategy. So that let us know that we cannot buy it at $200,000. That's all that did. All that did is say that we can't buy this property at $200,000. All right. Next. What we're going to do now is I wouldn't offer 137. They wouldn't get it. So I'm going to try 150. Let's just see what 150 would do. All right. So at a purchase price at 150,000. $150,000 purchase price. Same repairs, so we're now in $40,000. Or 45, we said 45. So $45,000. $195,000. Okay, so we're all in at this point, $195,000. We're still gonna sell this property at $260,000. That's what we're gonna say is our ARV, after repair value. Now from this, we still gotta calculate how much we're gonna pay in closing costs. So out of that 260, it was 20,000. All right, we're just gonna say 20,000 to keep it simple. So minus 20,000, 240,000. Okay, so this minus this gives us our spread. So we currently have a spread of $45,000. Now, a lot of people thinking that's a good number. Do not get me wrong. That's a good number, okay? For a regular fix and flip, that's a really good number. But here's where I come into play. So see now, I like to do this for other people. So let's say that I have an investor that, or you know, somebody I'm partnering with that wants to pay this to get this, all right? So typically for a fix and flip, depending on the amount of time that I'm holding the property, I like to get you know, my members about 20%, 15 to 20% return. So let's say on this property, we're gonna give them a 15% return on their money. So if they put $195,000 into the property, that's going to be about 29,000. We'll say 30,000. All right. So we'll say investor, or we'll say joint venture partner. Technical term. Joint venture partner would walk away with $30,000 out of this spread. And that's all profit. So, whoever buys the property and does the repairs is going to walk away with their money back upon the sale, plus $30,000 profit. Now, of course, there's still $15,000 remaining. All right? That's what the simplified version of a fix and flip, okay? That's how that would look. Now, I'm gonna get into some strategies that I like to do because I like to create both cash flow and upfront profit. So we're gonna keep these numbers, all right? We're not operating at 200,000, so we can scratch that out. We're gonna operate at 150,000. So we're gonna keep those numbers there, all right? So Mikhail, what's another strategy that we can do? Well, let's see. I'm gonna go through 3 more strategies. Let's see. We'll go through 3 more strategies, okay? All right. So, these are really my favorite 3. So, at this point, let's say instead of selling this property retail at $260, we went to the bank and refinanced at $260. So the bank would give us an 80% loan to value. So, and we can do a cash out refinance. So basically, we'll get another loan, another 30-year mortgage, okay? And they'll give us money upon the refinance. So how much money would they give us? They would give us 80% of the house's value, the home's value. That would be $208,000. All right? So if we went to the bank and refinanced, now we can scratch the closing costs here because we're not selling it retail. I mean, you'll have some fees, but not $20,000 worth. So now we're not selling it retail, we're gonna refinance. So let me write refi. All right. So when we refi, we're going to take out $208,000. So upon the refi, we're going to be getting $208K. Now, as you see, we put in $195,000 into this property. So we're going to be walking away with $13,000 cash. So cash, profit. All right. Well, Mikhail, why would anybody put in $195,000 to only receive $13,000? Cash flow. So of course, when you refinance, you're getting an entirely new mortgage for 30 years. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that whatever you do, whatever your exit strategy is covering your mortgage payment. So there's really two main ways to cover that. The first way is to just rent it out, long-term rental situation. So what does that look like? Gotta clear some space, man. So I'm gonna erase this too. So we now have a 30-year mortgage. Okay? And our refinance amount was $208,000. So now we have to figure out how much we can rent this property for to a long-term tenant. It's like your regular, standard 12-month lease or whatever, however long. Okay? So what I use to find that out is Rentometer. Rentometer, typically you put in an address into Rentometer. They give you rental data in the area, and then you can look at comps specifically. So let's say I pull up Rentometer and there's 5 properties in the area that are also, being rented out. And let's say they all have an average of about $1,800 and there's one that's $2,200, okay? But the $2,200 one is closer to the square footage and bed and bath as this home. So I'm gonna lean more towards that home because it's proven in that market that I can rent at that amount. I've already conducted that analysis. I'm not gonna do that on camera. I know that I can rent this property out for $2,100 a month. All right. So that means that my mortgage and all my expenses have to be less than this amount. All right. So what kind of expenses? Your main expenses. Let me erase this. All right. Your main expenses are going to be, let me rewrite the rent. So your main expenses are going to be, of course, P, principal. P, principal. I, interest. T, taxes. And I, insurance. So that's P-I-T-I, all right? You probably heard that phrase before. That's the main 4 payments that you have, all right? Of course, this is your mortgage. This is all gonna be within your escrow, if you choose, I guess. So, some other expenses, of course. Now, let's see. Utilities are gonna be paid for by the tenant, all right? But you do have, a lot of the times, you have HOA. HOA is a due or fee, basically like a club, to the homeowners association of your neighborhood, and basically that pays, well, it changes from neighborhood to neighborhood, but basically that pays for the maintenance and upkeep of your area. So they might have people that are out there, mowing the lawns, and that goes there. Or if you live in a community that has a common area, this may pay for the upkeep of that area. So HOA, now that's not everywhere, but in most places there is an HOA. All right. So, what else is there? Typically, you want to include some vacancy. So, a lot of times I do about 5 to 7% of my rent. So, if I'm, renting it out at whatever, I'm not doing the math. But basically you want to do this at about 5 to 7%. I do 5, but others do 7, and others do even less, and other people don't even account for this, so it's up to you. All right? And of course you have property management as well. That's if you don't plan on doing it yourself. If you're trying to get really into investing and you want multiple properties, there's really no way you're going to be able to manage each one, so you want to hire somebody to do that. That's typically about, it kind of depends, but from what I've seen, it's about 140 to 200. You could probably get less, also be more depending on your area. So, and one of the last things that people like to account for is repairs and maintenance and CapEx. Me personally, if I'm doing this, I try not to account for that, and if I do, it's a really small percentage, so I'm just going to leave it off of here. So here's your main expenses. So all of this totaled up has to be less than this for it to make sense. And actually has to be pretty much a good amount underneath. I mean, you're operating at infinity cash on cash return. You got your money back and then some. So it's all about your preference. So for me, if I'm getting $13,000 up front, I really don't care how much the difference is. I'll take 120, 150, 400. It doesn't really matter. All right. So let me see if I can really quickly figure out what these are going to be. You could probably look on Realtor. They give you pretty much good guesses. So let's see. All right. This isn't true. Let's see. I can figure it out. Bear with me one moment. I want to put numbers to this so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, let's see. All right, so I know this is going to be roughly about $1,850. All right, so this total here, it's going to be about $1,850, which means I'm going to be cash flowing roughly about, what is that, $250 a month? That's not bad. Remember, you get your money back on the refi. So everything you get after that is just profit. So you're going to be walking away with cash flow of, what did I say, $250? So you get $13,000 up front and then $250 a month. That's not bad at all. Now, again, this is all preference. I'm not a big fan of long-term rentals at all, honestly. I'm really not. And the reason why is because I don't think that it's, if you're getting about $250 a month in cash flow, you're roughly, by the time 3 or 4 years have passed, you start paying for repairs again, that's going to be gone. Studies say if you're cash flowing about $300 a month, you're really not going to be cash flowing at all because you're going to have to eventually pay for repairs and everything. So I'm not a huge long-term rental person. Plus, I don't even want that responsibility because if for some reason anything can happen and it's on your responsibility. So I'm going to look at 2 more strategies that I think would be really good here. All right, I'm going to keep this up here. I'm just going to talk. So one thing I could do, all right, upon this refi, I could decide that instead of renting it out, I'll just owner finance it to a retail buyer. A tenant buyer, all right? Basically what that means is you're wrapping another mortgage around and you're a lien holder at that point, or you're the one giving the mortgage out and then someone else is paying on your behalf. So let's just say this here, this P&I is at, let's say 4%, all right? So basically, I would just do the same thing and then just have it at 6%, 6.5%. And the difference in interest is how much I'm pocketing in cash flow. Plus, you don't own the home anymore, you're just a bank collecting interest payments, all right? That's a really great way. Don't get me, I love that. Matter of fact, that's probably one of my favorite ways to make money off real estate is to, owner finance it out. Because what happens is if they default, you get your property back. And typically, a lot of these times you get down payments too. So although you got $13,000 up front, you sell it again on the market. You might say, hey, 6% interest rate, $20,000 down, you'll get in the home. So you'll end up making $33,000 instead of $13,000 on the down payment of the home, right? Mikhail, who would do that? That doesn't make any sense. I'm telling you who would do that. Someone who cannot qualify through traditional means. You might have capital, but if you have a 400 credit score, if that's even possible, 400 credit score, you don't have any employment history, you can't qualify. So this opportunity presents itself to those people who can't normally qualify but want to get into a house. So that could be very neat. Now, I'm going to go over one more strategy because this is a strategy that I love. I love to talk about it. And it's not something that's super common. I'm going to erase all this. Everything. All right. So, again, let's say I bought this property for $150,000. Okay? Now, Mikhail, you gotta do repairs. In this strategy, you might do a little bit, but not a lot. Okay? And here's why. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go to a private investor and get a loan, a 5-year loan. Let's just say 5-year loan. At, let's say, 12% interest. Interest only. So it's kind of like what these hard money investors do, private money investors do. When you're trying to fix and flip, they'll get you in like a 1 to 2, 3, 5 year mortgage, and you're intending that you're going to sell the home eventually. All right. So, all right, that's our interest for my finance people. So you bought it for $150,000. Okay, and your mortgage on the home is going to be for 5 years at 12% interest only. All right, but you're going to sell this home for $250,000. All right, on a 30-year mortgage. All right, and we'll just say it's at 5%. Let's say 5%. I don't know how long this is going to last at 3%, but we'll say 5%. Okay. So you bought it at this with these terms, but you're going to retail it at these terms. You might require a down payment, you might not. Who knows? But what's going to happen is this is a much higher amount than this. So what's going to happen is this mortgage is going to pay for this mortgage for 5 years. And then after 5 years, you'll own this property free and clear. Yes, you own the property free and clear. Plus, you've gotten equity in the home. So, I love this method because this makes, now of course, you can get it from our people out there. Yes, you can get a 30-year mortgage, just pay it, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But using this method, you can own a property free and clear in 6 years. All right? This is what's called a slow flip method. I forgot the guy who invented it, if he even invented it, but that's where I learned it from. Maybe I'll put his name, or no free promo actually. But 6 years, you'll own the property free and clear. And you'll still be receiving payments, or they might sell it to you. But when they sell it to you at $300,000 now, you'll have no debt. So, Mikhail, there's no way these are going to match up. Well, let me show you. So, 5-year loan. All right? 5-year mortgage, I should say. At 12% interest rate. That's going to be roughly $1,500 a month. All right? Now, a 30-year mortgage. At $250,000. Let's just say a 5% interest rate. Let's just say let's go higher than that. All right. So we'll say at 7.5. That's at about. So I'm going to say 7.5 for this example. Again, you're seller financing this, so you can be super crazy with this interest rate, but you can be pretty flexible. So 30-year mortgage at 7.5%. All right. Guess what this is? Roughly $1,500. So this is paying for itself for 5 years until you own the property free and clear. That's a crazy lucrative method to build wealth in real estate very, very fast. Okay? Very, 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 very fast. So, of course, there's PITI and everything else. That, of course, has to be factored into this number, but just for principal and interest purposes, that's what you're looking at. And that's for 5 years. So today we went over just a regular fix and flip. We went over a refinance and rent. We went over a refinance and seller finance or owner finance. And we also just went over the slow flip method. Now, we're gonna do this for most properties that I look at or I'm serious about acquiring. Not everything, but most. So if you haven't done so, follow me. I post this kind of stuff on YouTube as well. And we'll take a look at some more properties in detail coming up here very shortly. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Mikhail.